Thank you, everyone. It's great to see folks in person again. Always great to see such a great, enthusiastic group here at Build. For today's session, we're going to be exploring how Copilot's really transforming the Power Platform. And at this point, Power Platform is the #1 most used low-code platform in the world across Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Copilot Studio, and Power Pages. And we have over 1,400 connectors, so even if you go all in with the Power Platform, it still works with all your existing infrastructure and investments. And we've been reimagining all parts of the Power Platform with Copilot. And that's really what you'll see today. We have 3 live demos, we have customer story, and we have a pretty exciting announcement around AI Recorder. So a lot of great content. And as I get into it, something I like to kind of talk about nowadays is for a long time, we've had this distinction between no code, low code, and pro code. It's kind of this big barrier, people who write code in an editor and people who use these like drag and drop clicky platforms. But something that we're noticing is that really these divisions are going away. What we're seeing is that no matter if you're the most hardcore professional developer all the way to a visual developer in Power Platform, you're going towards this Copilot first development. This is a new way of working. And if we think about how it started to show up, if you go back to the opening keynote from Satya, he had that demo of GitHub Copilot. The big thing that I liked as someone who's always loved no-code, low-code platforms is it had this idea where you can use natural language and it will go generate code for you right in VS Code. So even if you're working in GitHub and you're working at the lowest levels, you still are going to be mixing and matching natural language. Copilot has started to change all of that, no matter what your development environment looks like. Now, if you kind of go back in time to when GitHub Copilot first launched, we also had the beginnings of natural language development at powerapps.com. So about 3 years ago at the same Build conference, we announced the ability where you can go from natural language to Power Effects expressions. So about the same time that you saw GitHub Copilot come out. And that's when you're starting to see the same thing. In Power Apps, in VS Code, natural language to go build these solutions. And then since then, it's been 3 years full of amazing innovation with Copilot. We've announced Microsoft Copilot, Copilot Studio, Copilot inside of Power Apps and Power Automate and Power Pages and Power BI and Copilot Studio, making it so you can create solutions faster than ever before. And these solutions are incredibly powerful and robust, even though you're working through Copilot in a visual, low-code type development environment. So that idea of Copilot increasingly becoming the centerpiece of how we think about development is really critical. And if we think about at Microsoft, what do we think the future looks like? We think it looks like Copilot. And that's something that you will see throughout all of our products. And when we look at Copilot, whether you're in VS Code or powerapps.com, it's all kind of built on this idea that Copilot's going to make you more productive. It's going to make you a stronger developer and a faster developer and keep you in control so you can focus on the stuff that matters most. Now, if you look at what Copilot means for developers everywhere, there's really 2 big things I want to highlight. So the first, of course, is how you create solutions. How you develop is going to be different with Copilot first development. But the second, which is a little more subtle, is the fact that what you build is also going to be different. Your solutions will not look like the same way they did 5 years ago. Your solutions will look different. They're going to have to be intelligent. They're going to have to be dynamic. They're going to have to be AI-powered. Everything is going to change. So just like when the GUI revolution changed all application development, so you had to build a GUI and not just a terminal application, same thing is going to happen with Copilot. And one of the best ways to really see this in action is through our customers. So to kind of see this story come to life, we're going to look at Cineplex, which is one of Canada's leading media and entertainment companies. And they've used Power Platform and Copilot to transform how they do business. Let's hear it from them.
If somebody thinks about movies in Canada, they're going to think about Cineplex.
Cineplex's biggest selling point is guest services. Being able to utilize AIs and automation before any other businesses really put us over the top.
So what we do is have people that are doing refunds from a spreadsheet say, give me a little bit of time and we'll figure out how we can automate this. We're literally able to turn around that automation in a number of days. That's when we really saw the value of the Power Platform.
There's definitely been an expansion of the exposure of Copilot Studio, and it actually is a core component in our refund solution. The number of automations that Cineplex has in place at the moment is over 400. And what that's been able to do is been able to generate over 30,000 hours saved annually.
With that time, with over 30,000 hours saved, we've saved over $1 million within the last 2 years, just implementing solutions that are currently in production. Microsoft makes it so easy. All of Power App, Power Automate, all these solutions, it's housed under one big umbrella.
I think there's 4 teams that are building their own Copilot Studio solutions. And that's just from the need from the business.
The future here at Cineplex using all these different automation tools, Power Platform tools, it's bright, it's exciting, and I think there's going to be a lot more of it to come.
Some of the behind the scenes and get hands-on with this. And the first question that I've heard pretty consistently the last few months is, if copilots are the future, how can I build a copilot? How can I go create these things? And that's something that really becomes part of any solution. Just like you have a graphical user interface, you want to go streamline a copilot inside of it. And the answer, hopefully you've heard a lot the last 2 days, is Copilot Studio. It's a rich, managed environment for creating your own custom Copilot. And you've probably seen a whole bunch of demos across the last 2 days. And we have 3 major updates this year, which really transform kind of how you can use Copilots. The first is we have the new agent capabilities. So your Copilots aren't just running in a conversation, but they can also run in the background, can be autonomous, can take long-running asynchronous workflows. We'll also announce a brand new enhanced knowledge experience and richer overrides and topics inside of Copilot Studio. So all of this comes together to make it really easy to create these powerful Copilots and embed them anywhere you want. And you'll see all of this in a demo. And I want to take a little bit of extra time to talk about that knowledge component. Inside of Copilot Studio, we support Graph, Dataverse, and Fabric. So if you use Office 365, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, or Azure, we got you covered. And we also have over 1,400 connectors. And that number we are very proud of in the Power Platform, the 1,400 connectors, because it's so important that your solutions connect to all your existing systems and infrastructure. And that means whether you use Salesforce or ServiceNow or SAP, whatever you have in mind, we probably can connect to it out of the box. And if we can't, you can go register an Azure API or endpoint and call that from your Copilot. And if we kind of look through the experience inside of Copilot Studio, what makes it really powerful is that large language model behind the scenes, which is orchestrating all these different components. So you have your instructions, your knowledge, your topics, your actions, and the model self-assembles based on the conversation that it's having with an end user. That way you can support a nearly infinite number of conversations and dialogues without having to hard code every single one of them. And that's what's very different from conversation building and chatbots of the past, is that dynamic capability. And as all of this goes through, we also give you the complete control to override with a topic to exactly manage how the Copilot will behave for certain dialogues. And this is really, really critical. This hybrid of Gen AI and fixed dialogues and conversation flows is how you can get something deployed very quickly, which is powerful but doesn't compromise for the most important scenarios. And Copilot has kind of that history of conversation and dialogue, but it's evolving. The big thing that has us very excited is that Copilot's changing. It's getting more powerful, and Copilot's not just constrained to a single large language model behind the scenes. It's not GPT-4 or GPT-4 Omni. It can really work across so many other things, and it's also not chat. Copilot is a lot more than just a chat box you interact with. And the big thing is this idea of Copilots working in the background. Copilots aren't just waiting for a chat message to come in. Copilots don't just work with you when you are chatting with them. They can now work for you. You can build a Copilot that can run and complete tasks even if there's not an active conversation. And that's where agent capabilities come in. And you've probably heard that word a lot at Build. Agents, agents, agents. And they really represent a new realm of capability for these large language models for these orchestrators and for copilots. And in my mind, what makes an agent really is three major things. The first is that agents can operate independently of the user to fully automate tasks, not just when they're interacting with the person. Second, they can respond to events from databases or apps in addition to those conversation requests. That data or event, that becomes the prompt to trigger the Copilot as opposed to the dialogue. And the third one is this idea that Copilot can start to work on behalf of a company, a department, or a team, not just an individual user. And in Rajesh's keynote yesterday, you probably heard this idea of like the process Copilot and team Copilot. These really start to come to life through these agent capabilities. And we're excited that we now have an incredibly easy to use and incredibly powerful capability in Copilot Studio to create these agent behaviors inside of the copilots that you build. And the reason this is important is a typical solution will increasingly need to have copilots in it, but also have agent capabilities in those copilots. And this is one of those things which really is 10 times better to see in a demo. So I'm incredibly excited to be able to welcome on stage Ray Smith, who's going to run through an entire end-to-end agent workflow, including live triggering and live execution. Take it away, Ray.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you. I'm going to show how Microsoft Copilot Studio can help Cineplex onboard new employees, triage hardware issues, and assign or order new devices as needed using agents. With Copilot Studio, we've dramatically simplified the process of developing, testing, deploying, and monitoring agents. But don't just take my word for it. Let's jump in and let me show you around this Copilot with agent capabilities. The first thing you'll notice as I jump in this Cineplex IT Help Desk Copilot is the goals and instructions. These very simple declarative statements are key to guiding Copilot during planning and execution. As I scroll down, you'll notice a defined list of knowledge sources and actions. Charles already touched on this just a moment ago. These are specific to hardware troubleshooting and providing support, as you'd expect. But the real magic and difference to agents over today's copilots is that they can respond automatically. They can be set up and configured to respond to an event or a trigger without human interaction or chatty interfaces. Now, these events can come from your existing business processes, the very tools, systems, databases, and applications we use across our business today to get work done. In Cineplex's case, they want Copilot to be triggered when a new employee is added into their HR tool. So let's add that here. They want Copilot to proactively reach out to new employees to offer assistance, help them get onboarded, and help them get a new device as needed. We can see that this trigger has now been added successfully to the Copilot and will call on Copilot automatically when a new hire starts. Now, I've added a new trigger. It's going to respond asynchronously or automatically in the background. What next? Well, the first thing I'd want to do as a maker is feel confident that this trigger and this Copilot is going to respond and act appropriately across various scenarios and situations. So I've expanded out the test pane here. As you can see from this test pane, I can interact just like an end user, ask questions, trigger actions, but I can also describe to Copilot to simulate a situation or a trigger, a context, memories, circumstances, and it will be able to bring me through a test. But I'm going to go further. I'm going to do a real-world test here across the trigger that I've just set up. So bringing in the exact systems and applications that I've connected to this Copilot. You can see here, I've expanded out this Copilot because I want to see exactly what's going on beneath the covers as this trigger is called into play across the Copilot agent and the LLM. Backstage, my colleague Ryan is going to trigger a new entry into the HR tool, and Copilot is going to be called into action automatically. We can see the trigger has been picked up. On the left-hand side, I'll bring your attention to the Copilot flow. These are the steps and actions that Copilot is taking dynamically at runtime to get the work done. In the center panel, we'll see Copilot's thought process, rationale, details at every step. We can see that this was a successful run. When the new hire started, it triggered the workflow, and I can see that it successfully retrieved knowledge from the knowledge base to craft a welcome note, It reached into Cineplex's ITSM solution to pull back the list of approved hardware items or catalog. And it even rendered that information in a nice, friendly, and human interactive format via an adaptive card. So a successful and powerful test, as you can just see. But the real power of agents comes from monitoring and teaching across many real-world events and examples, ultimately to improve its outcomes. To do this, let's drop into history to see the list of historical runs for this Copilot agent. Now, the key to Copilot autonomy is building trust. Trust that it will behave accurately and reliably. But we all know that Copilot can't handle every situation and scenario, and we need the humans in the loop to handle exceptions. But we also want the humans to nudge Copilot in the right direction, to give it insight, to help it handle those situations in the future. So looking here across this, beyond the successful runs, we're looking for some exceptions, or in this case, a situation where it ran successfully, but the user gave some negative feedback. I'm going to drill into this one to learn a little more. I'm going to first bring our attention to the right-hand side. Here we see a summary of Copilot's thought process, rationale, the context. It's even summarized the circumstances around which this user gave some negative feedback. As I scroll down towards the bottom, you will see learned and recalled memories. Now, these are invaluable for personalizing this experience for the end user, to really make that end user feel like Copilot understands their circumstances, the history, the context, preferences, you name it. Bringing your attention over to the left, we can see the Copilot flow. This is a dynamic plan that was created at runtime by Copilot to execute this workflow. In this case, onboard an employee and acquire new hardware. This is where we can see the important details, steps, connected systems that Copilot called upon to get work done. As we look across each of these steps, I'm able to drill down even deeper. I can click into any one of these steps and events to really get beneath the covers to understand what was going on with Copilot's thought process and reasoning at each and every step. If I zoom in here on the right-hand side, I can see the specific instructions relative to its inputs prior to this step. I can also see a reasoning section, and this is kind of like a summary of all the context, the steps prior to it, the variables it may have had in context, the memories, and so on and so forth. As we scroll down, we'll see action details. This is where we capture inputs and output details, which are invaluable for debugging, especially when connected to third-party systems, connectors, and APIs. We're able to drill in and see what was returned from the ITSM solution in this case. So zooming out, I feel like I've got a good handle on what caused this negative feedback. The user was presented with a list of options, and Copilot was unable to offer a tablet or a lighter weight device. I can see if I zoom in here, it signaled the negative feedback at this step, but also this icon that says, we've created a teaching opportunity linked to this. Now, Copilot is designed to learn and adapt with learning capabilities and learned examples to continuously improve its outcomes. At this step, I'm going to click on Teach, connected to this scenario. As I expand it, you'll see that Copilot is retrieving the context of this situation and also a recommendation that it's providing. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and accept this recommendation. And what Copilot's going to do now is it's going to assess how it should update its instruction set. Should it save this as a learned example, or should it create a dynamic execution plan that it can use as a meta prompt scaffold for future runs to handle a similar situation again? So we see here the agent instructions have been successfully updated and will apply now to all future runs. With Microsoft Copilot Studio, we have thousands of actions, connectors, and knowledge sources. We've got task generation with action graph dependencies and state-of-the-art chain of thought prompting techniques, all with the goal of keeping Copilot focused on the task at hand. With Copilot agents, Cineplex feels ready for their busy summer season of blockbuster movie premieres. Thank you, and back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Ray. And I think he gets extra credit for having an agent be triggered in real time by someone backstage. I think we were all sweating a little bit whenever you do that live of a demo. But it's really incredible to see how far all this technology and capabilities have come in such a short period of time. And if we look at kind of the Copilot story, if we go back to 2023, which may feel like a long time ago, but wasn't that long ago, Copilot was very focused on three things. This idea of searching over content and information, this idea of summarizing content like emails and documents and web pages, or generating content like images or text. That really is what defined the Copilot. And that's what we saw in things like ChatGPT or Chat at Bing or in Copilot in Microsoft 365. But this year, 2024, is really going to be redefined in two main ways. The first is that Copilot is not just about one-to-one conversations. We'll have teams of multiple people working together with multiple Copilots. This is the big Team Copilot announcement that you heard yesterday. And that will change how we build and how we consume software as we move forward. And then the other big one, of course, is agents. As you saw in the demo from Ray, agents are going to completely redefine what Copilots can do. We're going to go from conversation only to really a full set of programming capabilities and primitives, which you can use across your solutions. So 2024 is going to be defined by these two concepts, agents and team copilots. And if we think about like what it means from a programming point of view, it's really driving a new way of approaching a copilot. In our mind, a copilot is increasingly a general purpose reasoning engine. It works for chat and voice, of course, but also works for agents and APIs, or even inside of your existing apps. These copilots can help go drive new screens and new forms and new layouts, all dynamically and all based on the knowledge, the actions, and the topics you've configured. And this is just a new way of thinking about creating applications. And just like we had apps become always connected to the internet and web, you're going to have apps that become always connected to Copilot. And you'll see this and a whole bunch more in the next few demos. Now, if we look at one of the areas where we saw Copilot first appear in the Power Platform, it was inside of Power Automate. Inside of Power Automate, we had Copilot for creating cloud flows with natural language, so you could just describe what you want to build. We also embedded AI actions inside cloud flows, so your workflows could go invoke and call GPT-4 or 3.5 to go help with that summarization or generation of content. And that really made it so you could start to bring AI to existing concepts. But we're super excited for two major announcements at Build: AI Flows and AI Recorder. They start to change what you build, like what does it mean to build an automation, and also a completely new way of doing development. And if we kind of look at that Copilot and cloud flows first, this is something we launched at Ignite over 18 months ago, back in 2022. And this has really taken off. Just shy of 40% of makers and developers in Power Automate use Copilot today. And it helps you build automation solutions in seconds or minutes, which maybe would take hours, and things that maybe took days and weeks can start to be built a heck of a lot faster. And we do all of this with a fine-tuned GPT model that we built that understands how to build Power Automate cloud flows. But this was a great start, but it's kind of selling Copilot a little bit short, because Copilot can do so much more than just text inputs. It can be multimodal. It can take voice, it can take vision, it can do all of that and give a full 360 experience. With GPT-4, Omni is just a great example of an underlying technology, but we've taken that and we've wrapped it in Power Automate Desktop to create an incredible AI recorder experience. So you can use your voice and share your screen with Copilot, and then it will generate the RPA definition for you automatically. All of this makes it so you can build things faster, you can operate at a higher level. You still need to be an expert, a developer, an automation specialist, but you can move faster than ever before. And this truly is a magical experience. So let's play a video of some of the running code.
Power Automate Desktop is a robust RPA solution for automating websites and applications without direct API access by simulating human actions like clicks and keystrokes. With the new AI Recorder capability, you can easily create desktop flows just by recording your screen and using your microphone. Let's take a look at this new capability. I work at Cineplex. each week I'm tasked with updating the internal portal with data on private bookings that are tracked in an Excel file. I manually input this information into the portal and then send a confirmation email. I need to do it for each row, and that's a lot of rows to copy manually every week. This task is extremely tedious and has a high risk of error due to manual copying. I would much rather use this time on more meaningful work instead. Let's take a look at how I could effortlessly automate this process using the new AI Recorder capability. In Power Automate Desktop, I can start building an automation by using the recorder. I click Start Recording, start performing the task, and explain it as if I'm teaching someone how to do this task. Let's go ahead and build this automation together. I start my screen recorder and my microphone. I go into the SharePoint Cineplex bookings folder on my device. Then I open the most recent Excel file for event bookings. Next, I go to the internal portal, select private event bookings. Here, I need to copy the information from the Excel file into the form for each individual booking. I click to end the recording, and that's all. After completing this recording, Power Automate will analyze the captured steps. Power Automate uses the multimodal GPT model behind the scenes, where the screen recording, voice instructions, and UI elements are brought together to build the right automation for this task. Within minutes, it creates a desktop automation that replicates what I just did manually. The recording analysis is complete, and I can review the suggested flow and make any adjustments if needed. Grouped by regions, we see the breakdown of this automation. Within each region, I can inspect each of the actions that will be performed. For example, launching Excel, reading the Excel content, and typing the values into different fields of the form. This looks good, so let's run it to see it in action. The automation is doing the tasks that I showed it. I no longer need to do this, and the risk of error has been virtually eliminated. Here, we can see the automation running on my machine in attended mode. With Power Automate, I can also set it up to run in unattended mode on a PC in the cloud. This way, the task will be performed in the background without requiring my intervention. Thanks to the new AI Recorder in Power Automate, building desktop automations has never been easier.
And if we look at kind of what this starts to represent, the way we develop is going to change. So instead of Power Platform makers or developers creating solutions on their own, today it's starting to be where the makers and developers are able to work with a Copilot in real time. They can talk to it, they can show it examples, they can use natural language, images, and so on. Helps them build things quicker. But what we're going to start to see over the next 2 years is increasingly a team of copilots that help the user. And this team will be composed of experts that know data schema and visual design and how to wire up security, those types of things. So it's not just one single copilot or one set of skills, but the ability to tap into a reservoir of copilots that help you build solutions faster than ever. And all of this copilot stuff may sound very futuristic, but the big thing that we've seen is Power Platform is one of the fastest adoption areas for Copilot. Already, 330,000 organizations have used Copilot in Power Platform. It is diffused through basically every typical maker and organization to start use Copilot to create these things faster, because it's a different way that's easier and faster to go create the solutions. And one of the areas where we think we're taking this to the next level and where we think Copilot can do so much more is AI flows. AI flows are a new way of creating these automations. Instead of hard coding your logic and steps, you instead describe the outcome you want and provide context and guardrails to the AI. Then, based on all this information, we will dynamically and just in time assemble a workflow which goes and delivers the outcome given a set of inputs. This makes it easier and faster to build incredibly robust solutions and unlocks a whole set of scenarios where you couldn't really do automation before. And just like the agents before it, this is best seen in a demo. So I'm incredibly excited to welcome on the stage Miti Joshi, who's going to walk through AI flows real time, end to end. Take it away, Miti.
Thank you, Charles. Let's take a look at how AI flows can help Cineplex manage private events. Here we have a customer requesting a change to their private group screening event. Now, usually when you have private group screening events, there are custom terms that the customer signed with. And custom agreements usually mean that automation is impossible. But we'll see today how AI Flow makes the impossible possible, and we're going to build an AI Flow to do just that. So let's get started. This is an AI Flow. An AI Flow is a set of instructions and background knowledge provided to an LLM, coupled with the action and integration capabilities that you already know and love of Power Automate. So today we'll build an AI Flow that takes in a customer's request, evaluates it, and provides a recommendation to the guest services team. To get started, we will provide some input values to this AI Flow. So first up, we have the group screening agreement. This is the custom agreement that the customer signed with Cineplex. Next up, we've got the customer request, which is the email we just saw requesting a change to their event. The additional thing that I need to provide here to this AI Flow is the booking change policy. What this is effectively Cineplex's policies for how to evaluate customer requests. And let's take a quick look at what this booking change policy looks like. So as you can see, it's 50 pages, all natural language, and each time a customer request comes in, the guest services team has to go through this document, manually analyze what the policy says, see what the customer is requesting, and see the agreement they signed with. But now with AI Flows, all we need to do is just point this AI Flow to this booking change policy, and we're set. But we provided these inputs and these references. What's missing is we need to tell this AI Flow how to reason over these inputs. And that is where this middle section of the page comes in. These are the instructions to the AI Flow. And in here, you'll notice some tags, which effectively just help the AI Flow map the different AI Flow's input and output variables to the concepts that I'm describing. What these instructions are saying right now is if the customer's request cannot be granted, to write an email explaining why. And if the customer's request can be granted, it can be approved, then to write an email saying, yes, customer, we're going to approve your request. Now, this AI Flow is going to create a recommendation and send the email, but that's not what I want. So for a safe and responsible deployment, what I'm going to update these instructions to is to create a recommendation and send that over to the guest services team to approve before anything's put into action. So with these updated instructions, I'm going to hit Update. And what happens here is AI Flows understands what my intent here is with these instructions, and it goes ahead and gives me some suggestions to make this AI Flow work as expected. So first up, I see on the right, it's added an approvals connector, which is awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to do here with this AI Flow. Next up, it's providing some updated suggestions here, and I see that we've got an approval ID added as an output value. That is indeed helpful, so I'm going to go ahead and accept that. The rest of these suggestions, I don't really need, so I'm going to ignore them, and that's good. And now this AI Flow is ready for action. Let's take it for a spin. So I'll hit Preview, and when I hit Preview, we'll see these two inputs that we've defined for the AI Flow. So since this is a test run, I'm going to go ahead and provide some sample inputs in here. This group screening agreement is the custom terms that the customer signed with Cineplex. And the customer request is the email that we just saw at the top of this demo in Outlook. As you can notice, all of this is in natural language. I did not need to go in and format any of this, parse anything, do anything special here. All I'm doing is pointing it to the AI Flow, and I hit Run Now. So what AI Flows does now is it takes these inputs, the group screening agreement, the customer's request, and the booking change policy, analyzes all of this to identify the holistic recommendation on what to do with this customer's request. Let's take a little pause here. While AI Flow identifies what the proposal here should be, what would I have done without AI Flows? As a maker, I would have had to take stock of all of the custom terms possible across all of our agreements. I would have had to look at that, look at the booking change policy, the 50-page document we just saw. I would need to take all of this, find all the possible permutations and combinations, and then hard code all of that logic in my traditional automation. That's a lot of branching, a lot of conditional logic. It's very tedious work. It's going to take me forever. And don't even get me started on when that booking change policy gets updated. Now, all the work that I did just goes out the window and I need to start from scratch all over again. That's quite painful, and that's possibly why we say when there are custom agreements, automation's really hard. But even while I just described the pain of not having AI flows gone ahead and identified a recommendation here. So let's see what it did. So it took my sample inputs in here. It thought through the problem, and what it identified is, hey, this customer's request can indeed be approved. An approval has been created. And when I scroll a little bit lower and I see it's providing some more details in terms of, yes, this aligns with our booking change policy and the group screening agreement, so this request is approved. So all looks good, so I go ahead and hit Use Action. What this now does is it takes this approval recommendation and sends it over to the guest services team for a team member to evaluate. So when they go into their approvals app in Teams, they will see these different recommendations. The team member can simply open this up, review the details that the AI flow recommends with. It gives them information as well. So this guest services team member looks at this and can choose to approve the request, and this just saved them a lot of time. And I, as a maker, just automated something that would have previously been considered impossible. Let that sink in. That is a win-win. And this is what the future of automation increasingly looks like. With that, back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Miti. So if we kind of look at this new way of working, Cineplex has been able to use all kinds of new automations with agents and AI flows to start to transform their operations. But it's not just about automations. Applications are also going to be different. In the next 4 years, over 1 billion new applications need to be built. This is a massive undertaking for all of us. So we're going to have to create them differently and think about applications differently. And there's 3 major changes about how we create these applications coming to bear. The first is we're going to see more natural language, that prompting that you've seen with Copilot. The second is more graphical building. Visual, what you see is what you get. Instead of looking at the code behind, get a higher level abstraction to go create these solutions. And last but not least, we need more AI components. We need to make our more intelligent solutions, which can help respond to all the different needs that our businesses have. And one of the areas where this comes to life magnificently is Copilot and Power Apps. We have an incredible set of new capabilities available here at Build to help you design data schemas, to stitch together application logic, and build your user experience. So it's the full stack of applications with Copilot and Power Apps. And to show all of this in action, I'm incredibly excited to welcome on stage Welicki, who's going to have a great end-to-end demo of Copilot and Power Apps. Over to you, Leon.
In addition to playing movies, Cineplex offers private events where individuals and companies can rent a theater to host a movie viewing party. Cineplex wants to use Power Apps to create an intelligent application to streamline the movie event process. And to do that, they just go to make.powerapps.com and simply tell the Copilot what they want to build. An app to manage movie events, rooms, and staff for a movie theater. The first step, very frequently for creating a business application, is defining its data model. How many of you start your apps defining the data model? I do, and Copilot does too. Copilot will go ahead and create a data model for my application composed of a set of tables, each one also with sample data, and most importantly, with an entity relationship diagram where we can see what the entities in the model are and how are they connected. Of course, this looks great, but it's not set in stone. I can change it. So I'll work with the Copilot to add one more table, and I will ask to add a table for food packages. The Copilot will go ahead, create the table, define a schema, and populate it with sample data. Let's take a look. We have our table here. So click on it, and as you can see, we have our columns definition here, our sample data, so it looks pretty good. One thing that happened, though, is that it did not connect the food package to the movie event. But that's not a problem, because I can ask the Copilot to do that for me. And I could continue my conversation with the Copilot to continue evolving and co-creating this data model. I could create more tables, add more columns, add more sample data. And this is a good time to mention that creating databases with Dataverse, with this data workspace experience, has never been easier. But at this point, what I have looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and save this data model and create an application on top of it. And what the Copilot will do is create an UI layer for this complex data model that has multiple screens. First, a welcome screen, but also one screen for each one of the tables that we just created, where users can interact with the data. So we got a fully working application and a complex data model in just a few minutes. So not too bad for just a couple of prompts. Next, as I have my application ready, what I want to do is evolve it, make the UI look closer to Cineplex. But I don't want to do it alone. So I asked my colleague Luca to help me evolve the experience of this app. With Power Apps Canvas apps, now you can have multiple developers working on the same app at the same time with a co-authoring experience similar to the one that you get in Office documents. For example, I can see that Luca is already on the welcome screen, and also I can see that he's starting to make changes, so I can see in real time what he's doing. He's changing the images of the app, and it's already looking great. And if I make any changes, he will see them too. The modern development team, it's a combination of people and copilots working side by side, collaborating in real time. And I'll fast forward a few minutes right now when Luca fully finished modernizing the app, and it looks beautiful because it uses Power Apps modern controls. And as I'm looking into the app, I notice that somebody left a comment for me similarly to how they would in an Office document. So I'm going to click and check what it is. It is Luca that is telling me to please change the color of the label to green if the deposit has been paid. With the Copilot, this is easier than ever. So I'll find the label, go to the color property, and express what I want to do as a comment. With this, the Copilot will generate a Power Effects expression to implement exactly what I ask, just like we do in GitHub. The expression looks pretty good, so I'll accept it, and that's all it takes. I use natural language to define the behavior of my application. But that's not all. I can also use Copilot to help me understand the expressions that others wrote. For example, Luca created this section here with upcoming events. So I want to understand, how does he decide what the upcoming events are? So I go to the gallery, and I see that there's a multi-line expression where he defined how to bring the upcoming events. And I don't need to really understand it myself. I can ask the Copilot to explain me the formula. And what the Copilot will do is analyze that complex expression and give me a plain English explanation of what it does. So with Copilot, you can define or understand the behavior of your applications just using natural language. But I know what many of you might be thinking right now. This is all great, but as a developer, you are used to understand and have visibility into the full scope of what you are creating in your source code files. If that is the case, there's something that I like to introduce, and it's the new code view. With the code view, you can get full access to the code behind any of the screens or fragments of screens in your Power Apps. Think of this as a code behind view in a format that you all already know, YAML. And this file not only has all the properties, the elements, and everything, but also all the Power Effects formulas. For example, as I'm scrolling, check this out. This is the one that we saw a few seconds ago. Of course, you can treat this as a plain text file where you can check it in your favorite source code control tool or look it in your favorite IDE, in my case, Visual Studio Code. So with the new code view, Power Apps are no longer a black box, neither a mystery. And our app is mostly ready, but there's one more thing that we want to do to it. Cineplex wants to add a Copilot to their application to make their users more successful, more productive, and happier. And adding Copilots to apps is easier than ever. I just need to go to the settings of the app and connect this application to an instance of a Copilot created with Copilot Studio. And luckily, Luca already created one which I connected here. So by doing this, I'm bringing all the power of Copilot Studio into the app, including all the awesome things that Ray showed a few minutes ago. So we have our intelligent application, which we created very quickly. Now, let's switch gears and see what it looks like when it's used by our users. And as I get into the application, the first thing to notice is that there is a Copilot there ready to help me to go more efficiently through my day. Let's say that I'm going to take the role of an employee that is new to the job. I don't know very well how the business works. So what I will ask first is, what kind of events can I book at Cineplex? The Copilot will answer this question looking into the corporate documentation of Cineplex, and the way in which it does it is using generative answers from Copilot Studio. Now that I understand the business better, it's time to ask a question about the data in the app. So I'm going to ask, what and where is the next event? The Copilot will look into the data in the application now and tell me where I should be. And I see that I need to be in room 5 next. So I'll go ahead and walk to room 5. And when I get to the room, I realize that there's no popcorn in the room. And that in a movie theater is kind of a tragedy, so we need to fix that. And here the Copilot is there to help me as well. So I'm going to ask the Copilot to start a popcorn refill process. Notice that I did not tell the Copilot in what room, but it realizes that that was missing and gives me a very easy way to provide that information. And just like that, we started the movie refill process. So as the user of this application, I had a Copilot helping me go through my day, understanding data from the company, but also the data in the app, and taking action on my behalf. So in the last few minutes, we saw how we can very easily and quickly build a modern intelligent application from scratch with Power Apps, Copilot Studio, all together in just a few minutes for makers and end users. Power Apps is the fastest way to create intelligent applications. And the best news of it is this is just a fragment of what you can do with the tools today. So back to you, Charles.
Awesome. Thank you, Leon. And what you're starting to see is that what you build is also changing. So it's not just how you build it, but also the solutions themselves. Like in Leon's example, he had a Copilot in his application to make it more compelling. And that's what we're seeing across the industry. Over 40% of net new applications are going to have intelligent components incorporated into them. The future app is an intelligent app. And that's going to be true across all parts of the Power Platform. Now, there's a lot of demos, a lot of content. So if you want to learn more, we have 6 breakout sessions after this one today and tomorrow. Please check them out. And if you really love Power Platform, we have the Power Platform Community Conference later this fall in Vegas. You can scan the QR code to sign up and register. We'll have hundreds of dedicated sessions, and you'll be surrounded by thousands of the world's biggest Power Platform fans. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for coming to Build. Have a great rest of the conference.